Life, says Glenn, which I assume means live. So thank you, Glenn. Welcome to the Foolish Tech Show. If you are joining us from YouTube, jump on over to foolishtechshow.com and you can join our live IRC chat with Glenn there. And
Hi, Glenn.
yeah, he's the only one hanging out this Wednesday or Tuesday, is it? Yeah, Tuesday.
Yeah, I think it's Tuesday.
I don't know.
It is.
I hope it's not Wednesday.
It was a long day yesterday. Lots of CryptoPrevent bug fixes already in line and working, and we're trying to get Michael to test more, but he's being a wuss about it. So I want him to install it on his computer, and he for some reason won't do it. But looks like Phoenix has joined us as well, and welcome both of you. Hope everything is going well this morning for you both. And yeah, it's the Foolish Tech Show. So if y'all have any questions about our software or support or anything like that, we'll be more than happy to help here. That's exactly what we're doing these shows for, not for YouTube internet fame or ad revenue, because we don't do ads on YouTube. If YouTube does it, that's YouTube's decision, not ours. So just take that in mind. But otherwise, we'll just talk about random stuff. Hey, Glenn, since you are here, I saw your post yesterday, and Michael was confused by it, but I think I saw what was going on, and it does seem like the DLL hell stuff. Is that what the... did you see my reply to it, and have you tried any of those things? Because that's what those error messages seem to indicate, is it's trying to possibly use the newer version of the DLL, where D-Support Suite's using the older version of the DLL. And technically they shouldn't have an issue, because like I mentioned in that post, I do have them, all three products, CryptoPrevent, whatchamacallit, D72 and DSS, all working on the same machine together. So it is possible, but maybe it's something about how I installed them, because I'm pretty sure I did CryptoPrevent then D72, which are the two new versions of the DLL, and then I installed D-Support Suite, which would have been the old version. So that might have had something to do with it, but I would think a reinstall would possibly correct that. And you said started tonight. Does that mean that DSS started without errors for you? And it worked? Or it didn't work? You're still confused? Yep. Check the file locations, ran regserve. Hey, we have a newcomer, TechBox, in our chat as well. Welcome, TechBox.
Thank you so very much for joining us.
Are you going to fix your camera, Michael?
Oh, yeah, sure I can.
I guess we all went no green screen today.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's been a rough day. Mine's easy to set up though.
Yeah. All right, yeah. Been a couple of days without shaving, folks. Gonna have to deal with that. Although I don't think I'm gonna go pull a John as far as the facial hair goes, but
Pull a John.
well, I don't know. It's impressive.
Something related to prostitution.
No. With the beard, it's a very big part of his branding. And
I'm gonna go pull a John off the corner.
Oh God. It's it's only Tuesday, so keep it.
He's gonna try a reinstall too. So all right, let us know how that goes, because those errors that you were seeing, it definitely indicates something with that DLL. I am not sure why else it would have that, but when I started it up and that log I posted had 2 startups, it didn't have any of those errors. So I couldn't, from what I researched on that error, I couldn't find anything else that might have done it. But also, I guess making sure that you're on the latest version of DSupport Suite might help as well, but I would assume you probably are, since...
Oh, Bradley, your background is surreal.
Thanks.
Not in a good way, though.
You're not in a good way.
Oh, that's better. So, it's pretty early for Glenn to be this chatty.
Glenn's going to try a clean OS install and see if that works. You could, if you have another system, that might be another option to test before that, but
I'm anxious to get to the bottom of this. So it wasn't, just to recap, because I was away for a second there at the beginning of the show, was it related at all to DLL Hell?
he tried the reg serve and that didn't work, so.
Okay.
And he's going to try a reinstall, and then he might try a clean OS, which I would possibly try it on just a different system if that's the only reason you're doing a clean OS install. But has Phoenix wants to know if anyone's ever had server hosting with OVH. You just got a new server with them, and it's decent, but their prices are crazy. And I believe that is the latest version one. I have never experienced OVH.
I don't either.
No, I don't have any experience.
They're pricing crazy high. Is that what he means?
I'm trying to look.
I would imagine if he just got one that he would have.
Cloud computing and dedicated servers.
Crazy low.
So this is what you're referring to, at least in our country. Take off the /US, depending upon where you are, obviously. I'm not clear on what the current Amazon pricing is, but if anybody would like to take a look at that link, they have their pricing. But it looks expensive. But I don't know, maybe not. I don't usually compare these things. The best of the cloud on a dedicated infrastructure, $573 a month. Well, Phoenix, yeah, I don't, what's your thoughts? Because I don't have a point of comparison for it, and these guys are kind of quiet right now. So, if you had,
I like their configurator. It seems to be easy to put together what kind of server you want.
That's good.
Don't know if the pricing's in line. Doesn't look bad.
Well, it depends. I think there's some cases where it could be bad. There's others. So what are they on as far as the bandwidth? What are they?
That I haven't been able to figure out.
1.3 gigabits per second guaranteed, up to 3 gigabits guaranteed is an optional option.
Ooh, so are they better about providing, because there's some questions about what the units of measurement for performance and bandwidth that certain cloud services are using. Is it maybe easier to, like what is a compute unit in Amazon's terms? And that definition is definitely varied over the years. So what I was wondering is, maybe is this a more better in that specific regard?
So TechBox has a quick question, and they're looking at making software changes. They've used D7 for many years, and just re-upped for another year of D7.2, and would like to know if the new D7X is going to have any similar features to RepairTech, such as bootable OS, portable app to manage reports, and says that looks like some handy stuff. The bootable OS, it's easy to run D7.2 on a WinPE CD, so there's really not a reason to have a bootable OS. And as far as I understand, their bootable OS just is a Linux boot that boots in and does some hardware diagnostic stuff at the most, and then you have to go back into a regular system to actually run their tool. Michael, quit using Alt-Tab. Every time you do that, the video stream goes off. As far as the reports, I think the reports are getting an update, but I don't know if we're going to have a portable app to manage those. Nick, what's your thoughts on those?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Just finished my sandwich. Goodness. No, the reports. There's not going to be, like I see he's talking about, like a portal, like a web thing, and no, we're not going to do a web thing. There will be
Oh, portal. Yeah, I read that as portable.
I did the same thing.
there will be, but portable may be more of an option because I want to have an administrator D7X interface that has, among other things, permissions and things for the technicians. It would have the access to all the uploaded reports. So, excuse me. Goodness.
So, were you still going with the WebDAV stuff and it being hosted on a HTTP server?
It's super quick, but we're not going to do any reports hosting it. That would be something that you would set up a server component of, and you would host the data yourself. We're not going to keep that for you. We don't want the liability.
Yeah. He says, is RepairTech the bastard child of D7? And it is based off of the source code of an older version of D7. I think he said version 6 or so. Was it
6.7.
Yeah, so
I gave them the D7 premium version 10 final code like in October of last year. I don't know what they're doing with that.
Yeah, so if they've made some updates to it, it may be up to the newest version, but it definitely doesn't have any of the stuff that the 7.2 app does, which fixes and changes a whole bunch of stuff, especially with Unicode support, I believe, and some other
Somewhat
improvements and things like that. Yeah, D7X is going for the
long paths, file system redirection, Unicode support, all of those things that D7 didn't really have.
Mm-hmm.
D7.2 doesn't do a lot of Unicode though. It depends on the operation that it's using. D7X will have full support.
Okay.
Which is why it's taken so long to rebuild everything.
So there was a question last night about bootsafe. Let me see if I can scroll back up and find it. I didn't happen to catch the person when they were on, but they said, need help with bootsafe, just installed on a laptop. Gave the laptop model number. After installing, display selection was safe mode with networking. Laptop restart and went to safe mode, but normal usage numerical. Sign is rejection password. But normal usage numerical sign is rejected password. What? Does any of that make any sense to you?
Can you paste it in something so I can like visual.
Decipher. Yeah, hold on.
That would be
All right, so this was what was posted, and that's verbatim. I posted that in the IRC.
But normal usage numerical sign is rejection password.
what line? Is that encrypted deliberately? Is this pre-seizure that, or is this what is this? Everything looked kind of good until that last part.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
that
that's the problem I have because they were speaking clearly up to that point, including when they define their hardware and I mean that's generally useful information if I wanted to look up the specific machine to reproduce it, of course. And then they go off and then
yeah, but with boot safe, I don't really think the specific machine's going to have much of it.
no, not at all. And numerical sign. I mean, is there implication that they're unable to log in after it because of some sort of account validation? But I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
I'm assuming it's not Windows XP, so I'll just talk about the Vista and above part. All it does is modify the BCD edit. I mean the BCD with the boot configuration data with BCD edit.exe, which is part of the Windows operating system.
To note, if you have that blocked with CryptoPrevent, that might create problems. But
that will definitely create problems. It just won't work though. It just
yeah.
it would
just
stop
restart the computer and like as if you normally did. But.
So yeah, and that was a random username, so we can't ask for that person specifically anymore. But
And hey, RTM Tech, who just joined, I got your private messages, but I kept like I didn't realize that the hex chat was like notifying me of a private message. Like it didn't switch to the tab, even though it blinked and did everything else and annoyed me and made noises. So I kept just like switching to it and going, "Oh, someone came, someone left. What? And then I would minimize it. I wasn't. I just noticed that this morning.
and yeah, RTM Tech was talking about an issue with Fabs. His Sonic Gateway blocked the Fabs 5 version download as a virus, which he downloaded it and ran it through several others, so it looks like it's a false positive, and that it does seem highly likely. I know that Untangle's antivirus blocks legitimate things all the time. It actually blocks the Java installation. I have to allow java.com through the antivirus, and it blocks my GPS app updater.
What was this, Sonic Wall?
Yeah, Sonic Walls.
Excuse me.
What don't
Passy
I ever
this
check?
morning.
Michael never checks his.
We've had problems with Sonic Wall and dCloud, and we've had problems with Sonic Wall early on, and I think CryptoPrevent activations too.
Yeah.
And RTM Tech says Fabs 2. He didn't download the newer version.
Yeah, he was downloading the older version because he needed it for XP compatibility, I think he said.
That makes sense.
So it more than likely is just a false positive, and that's not much you can do with that other than just allow it through your gateways thing. And I have, like I said, I have to do that for my Untangle gateway quite often, and I don't think it's actually blocked any real viruses, so I might just end up taking that feature off.
Well, Well, this goes to show that sometimes the extra protection afforded by advanced gateways also require a slight bit more management when it comes to false positives, something that should be, considered, because that can always be the case.
Yeah.
I did not know Dell bought them, but Phoenix is right. Phoenix does not like. He says the Sonic Wall is difficult. Yes, that's what he says, and blocks lots of legit websites.
Yeah. He was talking about the IRC private.
What in the world?
He sends you private IRC messages and you never check them.
Private? What is a private IRC message? It's either.
In Hex Chat, it would come up under your Foolish Tech Show channel, and it would just be the person's username. They would be talking to you directly. That's what private messages are.
Never seen.
Michael, you're really quiet for some reason.
No, I'm just I don't. Okay. Well, I mean, probably the good reason why I'm not responding to him because I don't know how to. I guess.
He doesn't know how to computer. That would have been something he learned prior to 2012. So
Direct chat, is that it? Is that what pops up?
yeah, don't worry about it now.
Yes, he does. Phoenix does reiterate it needs a good configuration. You have to do right. You do have to do right, but it's just not right out of the box. Is the
Yeah.
which nothing enterprise is. But I mean, come on. I mean, I don't know. It's like apparently no one ever figures out Sonic Wall.
He says he just sent you a private message, Michael.
Okay, the problem is I need not it would be against doing exactly what you've told me not to do, and that's play with the other hex chat, which is gonna cause problems for the stream. So I thank you so much, but if you want to directly message me in private, just shoot me an email, I guess, to Michael at foolishfp.com, or
Oh.
send me, let me know where you'll be and at what time you'll be there, and I'll do my best to make it.
Michael, you should probably set up your hex chat that you sign in with a regular, like the one that you use for the broadcast. Sign in with something like broadcast.
Oh.
And then people will know to message the one that you can talk on.
I can do that. Hold on. Let's see. So.
RTM Tech said he'll just direct message you with your IP if you want to post that in the IRC. You don't have to do it right now, Michael. Well, you did. So. All right, now the hex chat window is in front.
No, it's gonna be fine. That was just briefly. It'll go away.
Okay. So, welcome Futures Tech Nell and Futures Tech Shri. I see both of y'all have joined in. I hope we didn't run y'all off yesterday. That was.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
We didn't mean to. If we did. We're gonna try to stay away from political and religious topics, and stick with topics like this that RTM Tech posted. I'm not going to talk about what he posted it about, but he did post this, and it's good for a watch. And also earlier, it was either Glenn or RTM Tech posted this about the raw data room scale virtual reality. So room scale VR turns your whole body into a game controller. That would be fun. I also, speaking of VR, I liked this article on Gizmodo. And it is funny, just that first picture they show, like going in and attending audience, and everyone's wearing a huge VR headset, except for that one guy that's looking directly at the camera in the second row. Yep, in Phoenix, we talked about the Linux Mint website getting hacked yesterday.
Hmm.
And yeah, they are back up in A-OK now.
A-OK?
Yeah, they are A-OK. Oh, Serious Sam. Now that's a game I would love to see made into a movie. Did any of y'all ever play Serious Sam?
I was a spectator. I had friends who played the original, and I thought it was quite fun, and it would be an interesting plot, I think. So I'm kind of with you on the movie idea for it, but it would require a good director, and the relatively low success rate of crossover things like that. I don't know. Might not.
Like it wouldn't have a plot at all. It would just be him running around the desert blowing things up. Like that would be like
But that won't work for
2.5 hour movie.
that won't work for a movie. I mean,
I think it would.
it worked in the 80s when the
Especially
Cold
if it
War
was
was
like
around
really
and you could just
graphic
pick any
and-
person and have them, fight the entire Russian army and win. But those types of movies don't exactly go over as much anymore now that we have things like American Sniper and more realistic views of our country's heroes.
No, that's
Not
what
so
we
much
need
the
now.
Terminator or the Arnold Schwarzenegger or the you know
We need an outlandish American hero, and Serious Sam is the one to do it.
yeah, right.
Suicide bombers running at him.
Well, I mean, then just why not the Duke Nukem movie? I mean,
Is there a Duke Nukem movie?
I'm sure people have talked about it in the past. We'll wonder if there's ever a Duke Nukem game, but a new Duke Nukem game. But anyway,
An Agent 47 movie? Are you talking about Hitman?
oh yeah, the Hitman movies. That's right, I forgot about those.
Yeah, Hitman. Yeah, there is a Hitman movie. It's actually not that bad. It really didn't capture for me what the Hitman games really presented, but it was an okay movie as far as movies go. I would not recommend watching it, but I don't know if I would really say, "Oh, you liked Hitman? You should see the movie." It was decent as a movie on its own, but really didn't capture Hitman to its truest form. At least in my opinion there.
There's some talk over whether that iPhone security issue, as far as allowing the government to whatever get a backdoor into the phone. Um, it's been brought up by security researchers that their ability to update the operating system and to update code and firmware and other low-level pieces of software on the machine remotely and without the user's consent or knowledge or anything like that is a huge security vector to begin with. So to suggest that they have to open up a hole to sort of allow this to happen is not really completely sort of accurate, I guess, is what the implication is, because there is already this sort of could be. I'm not saying specifically to decrypt the data, of course. This is really not an encryption sort of thing. It's more of a general security thing where if Apple can remotely update the code on your machine, it would be feasible for someone else to use that same mechanism to deliver something potentially harmful or potentially privacy breaching to the machines. But that's also the case with, I mean, I'm just not singling out Apple. I mean, that's probably the case with all manufacturers' phones, just like Verizon can push down an update to our cell phones and put some sort of spy software or malware on it if they so chose to do. But I doubt for PR reasons that they would do that. But it's, that in of itself is a risk. And
Well, the link that someone posted, it looks like some police officer changed the Apple ID password. So now the phone is incapable of connecting to iCloud to backup or to receive updates without first unlocking the phone with your passcode and then entering in the Apple ID. So there's no way to get the data off the phone.
interesting. Yeah, I'm not trying to.
Other way to get the data off the phone, though. They can't get they were talking about, weren't they talking about building a special release of iOS or something, was they were asking them to do?
I mean, there's
Yeah, but since this officer changed the Apple ID password,
Right.
the phone isn't going to pull the update down.
But pull the update down, you can't plug the phone up to something, to like a Mac and go poof.
You would have to enter in the passcode for the phone first.
Yeah, and it might overwrite the stuff that's on there if you do it that way.
Yeah. I mean, look. If you're concerned about remote exploitation, you could obviously just live your life in a Faraday cage. Something I'm considering adding to the outside of my house, but that may impact cell phone reception as well as my ability to receive those beautiful signals that I interpret with the SDR technology. That's the only reason I've not gone that route yet. But Tesla, another big fan of Faraday cages. He used to love, outputting dangerous amounts of electricity and have himself inside of a cage to demonstrate that it was safe. Now, yes, it was safe, but only because of the fact that he was in the cage. So, I don't know.
Ryan.
Lots of discussion about that. What's going on? I don't know, Ryan. What is going on? Let us know. Bring us up to date. What's new in your life? Oh, Ryan, God bless you. Thank you so much for the purchase. I hope you enjoy the unlimited package.
Oh, that was Ryan.
Hey, Ryan. Thanks, Ryan.
I smiled at you.
Crazy CEO. Sorry,
Hey,
I do. Yeah.
Did y'all hear about that NASA Unexplained Files series? They did a leak, or they did a preview of the upcoming season, and they one of the big things that they're releasing and talking about is on one of the Apollo 10 trip, when they were on the dark side of the moon, where all communication and everything is blocked from the Earth. The astronauts heard strange music coming over their intercoms, and they didn't talk about it, and NASA hid it from us up until now.
That's interesting.
The transcript of the astronauts, they were like, should we even tell them about that? Like, they're like, you all heard that, right? But I don't know if we should tell them.
You might think we're crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would say anything.
So that's interesting. I mean, could
does
something just be bouncing off of something else and
Yeah, see,
that up?
I don't necessarily see this to be anything beyond like what Parker was just suggesting, because that does
Brian
happen.
said, was it Beck?
Well,
Hmm?
no, but they could be. You could freaking bounce a signal off the moon if you wanted to, and have it reflect back, and
Yeah, but they were
potentially-
behind the moon. It would have to be
Yeah.
reflecting off something further out than the moon.
It was
Yeah.
probably Sweet Home Alabama. You can't go anywhere without hearing that song.
And listen, what are the likelihood that some asshole just kept their Walkman in some sort of maintenance maybe bag or case, and I don't know. I just any number of things could be responsible for it, including interference and a lot of less big ideas, and it's usually Occam's razor, right? The simplest answer is usually the right one, the most straightforward, the one that requires the least amount of effort and energy on all parties involved. Yeah, Walkman in 1969. No, maybe. No, not. Yeah, you're right. It wouldn't be a Walkman. What would it be? What did they have back then? No.
An 8-track.
8-track.
Okay.
Well, and Glenn, you said NASA claims the audio was declassified in 71 or 74, but there's still a lot of ways to hide things without just having it as classified. I always refer back to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. They put the demolition notice in the basement of a small building with no name on it. And, you would have to go down there and push boxes out of the way and find it in the very back.
We talked about the Uber thing the other day, didn't we? Or yesterday, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys mention that he continued to pick up fares during and after the killing spree?
No.
I thought that was a little bit weird.
Well, you had to do something to fill in the time in between.
I suppose.
Idle hands,
Yeah.
Yes, Michael Collins, the pilot of Apollo 11, who became the first person to fly around the far side of the moon by himself while Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong were walking on the surface, said he too heard an eerie woo-woo sound.
Woo-woo! Woo-woo!
But accepted the explanation of radio interference.
Look, I mean, a solar flare. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of things that could be responsible. So again, I don't necessarily believe it to be an alien message.
Yeah, I mean, it even could be psychological at that point. The only person ever to be that isolated.
Mm-hmm.
I did the ATM smartphone thing. Would you verify your identity by placing your smartphone up against an ATM versus...
Michael, were you even listening to the show yesterday?
Did we talk about that?
Yeah. We talked about all this stuff.
Oh, well, I didn't remember that.
It's like Monday,
that's right. It
it's
was
like Monday show 2.0.
He went to sleep and then forgot everything that's happened.
Well, we have
since
some new
2012.
tech boxes here. He wasn't with us yesterday.
I'd like to discuss more about this phenomena that you have where you forget everything that you learned the day prior. And it seems to go back until about 2012.
Turning into Groundhog Day.
I think Michael may be the most isolated. Talking about the most isolated person on the other side of the moon. But a little bit more. So this is another. We had talked yesterday. Michael probably doesn't remember that about the Kickstarter campaigns and the companies that like you invest in and they didn't send the products and why send pitchforks. This one's another reason to research the companies that you're buying stuff from and be aware of what you're doing, because this guy paid for a 500-pound rechargeable battery and found that it's actually just 22 pounds worth of battery inside. And I've seen lots of issues with that. And it's usually more on the cheaper end of the spectrum. So if you buy a really, like if you go out and you find a 20,000 milliamp hour battery pack for like $3, you're not getting 20,000 milliamp hours out of that. You're probably not even getting 5 milliamp hours out of that. But there's no regulations on those. There's nothing saying, hey, you have to be truthful about what you're putting on the front of this pack.
Really, because we have organizations that should have the authority to do that. I don't quite understand that. They just choose not to do their job like everyone else. Okay.
I was actually talking with Darren at Hack5, and they source their own battery packs, and he was saying that one of the companies he talked to was like, yeah, we can put however much you want on the milliamp hours. It's not actually going to be that, but we can put whatever you want on the box. And he was like, all right, well, thanks, we're not going with your business. Michael. So yeah, definitely look into your who you trust as far as getting battery packs, at least, if not everything.
Well, thank you for that. And you know, there's been a lot of advances, and so it's not uncommon for a consumer to believe those things. I mean, it seems it's an area because of the electric cars and because of the rise of IoT, Internet of Things, and all these devices and stuff, and we expect and demand each generation to have longer battery life and more performance. Seemingly impossible, but oftentimes delivered to us by the wonderful engineers at a lot of good tech companies. But I really believe that the organizations, the governmental organizations that should oversee that, do oversee that. It's really hurting the consumers, and there needs to be some way for them to keep up with the rate of with the pace of technology. And I don't know how to do that. Maybe put younger people in office, maybe instead of 70-year-olds. That might work. I don't know.
Well, just go with the tried
Why not?
stuff. Yeah, probably wouldn't. Younger people would just be easier to pay off, and
maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean it's.
Yeah, and they actually younger people probably wouldn't even know that they would need to be paid off. They would just be.
But I'd like to believe they could be more ideal. Like get a college.
Oh, this was a really great dinner. Thanks for this. Yeah, your product's fine.
Get a college student that is.
Thanks for the French fries.
Super high idealism, and get them to
they
fight for the right. Cause.
They covered the extra sauces at McDonald's.
You're joking, right? That's sad. If that's.
Oh, but seriously, we were talking about batteries and power. Anytime. Say what, Tank?
I said, they gave me this milkshake for free. I didn't even have to ask for it.
Yeah.
Anytime I'm buying a power product, whether it's a battery or an external power supply adapter or it's an internal power supply, I always make sure to get a high quality product and make sure it's a reliable brand and something that's going to be reliable. And it's always very important to make sure your power is good.
Yeah, I mean, well, and in those situations, like the only true source you can rely on is actual customer reviews, because most of your articles reviewing them are going to be paid off or given the product to give them a nice review. And if you're looking at battery packs, I highly recommend Anchor. Anchor has definitely been one of my favorites so far. And if you're looking to test how many, like, you're never going to get a battery pack. So if you get a 15,000 milliamp battery pack, it's never going to be 100%. The best you can really aim for is going to be 80 to 90% of that capacity. but the really bad ones you can get down to like 20-30% actual advertised capacity. So the way you have to test that, though, is kind of a lengthy process. Basically, you fully charge the battery pack, and then you take a device that you know exactly how many milliamps its battery has, and you recharge that battery, and supposedly you should get however many times you can divide the actual advertised by the device. So like, say my phone has 4,000 milliamp battery on it. I drain my phone to 0, hook it up to my battery pack. That gives me 1 charge, so I know I got at least 4,000 milliamps out of that battery pack. Then I drain my phone to 0 again, hook it up again, gets me to another full charge. That means I get 8,000. Then I hook it up again, get 12,000, hook it up again. I should get at least a third of the battery off of it still, but yeah, it's a very lengthy process and it's hard to do. I think that's why they can get away with putting whatever they want on the advertised milliamp hours. So, Michael, you want to discuss all these links that you're just throwing?
No. Well, I just thought one about the.
I did read that ET worst game in history. They interviewed the developer for it.
Yeah, I've known about this for a long time.
That was a really good article, though.
I've actually heard the story previously. This isn't terribly absolutely new news, but
you knew that he became a therapist.
No, I didn't know. No, I didn't know the details. Some of that stuff. Some of that stuff.
So you didn't know anything about it.
No, but I know the story of the ET game, what happened with the development of it,
afterwards.
Some of the problems. I don't give a fuck what the guy did in his personal life. I'm just interested in the circumstances involving the game and the money backing for the game and the push for the game by the studios and all of that.
His personal life was the game, though. He developed the ET game in 5 weeks. And
yeah, but the reason for having to do that tight schedule and a lot of the other things were related to those pressures by external parties, both who he was working for as well as and there was just a lot of mismanagement too along the way. Anyway, it's a good story. There's obviously a lot more details about the guys, what deodorant he wears and all that good stuff that Brantley points out. But I think if you guys haven't heard the story,
I thought it was really interesting that
I grew up with ET, as many of you may have. So.
They had him come out to the Nevada desert when they were digging up the dump, and found out that Atari really had buried thousands of copies of ET in the desert.
They're that bad. Who does that? Who has to go out of their way to literally bury something to get it out of their minds because it was so bad? And I personally played the game. Have you, Brantley?
They weren't.
Have you actually played the game? I played it. Yeah.
They weren't burying it because of that. They were burying it to increase the sales copies, I think. It's something that record companies do quite often.
Yeah, and again, more of a marketing thing than an actual production and direction of a game or anything that should be serious.
It's not a marketing thing. It's a sales number thing. So basically,
exactly what marketing is.
The way that I understand it to work is, so you are the seller of a game. People purchase copies of the game that they're going to resell. If they decide to return it to you and you have a return policy, they can return the copies that they didn't sell to you. But if those copies never make it to you, then you don't have to provide the refund for it. And then those copies are quote unquote sold on your books. So apparently, and this is coming from a TV show, Vinyl, which just started a couple weeks ago, but that's how they did it to heighten sales records for record albums. Is they would sell the record stores copies of the record, and then if the record stores wanted to return them because they didn't sell them fast enough, they would try to return them, but then the record studios would like just dump them in a river, and then they would be like, "We never got that merchandise back, so we don't have to refund you." So yes, this record sold 100,000 copies still.
Hey, drinking coffee undoes liver damage. If you drink 2 additional cups of coffee, you have a 44% lower risk of liver cirrhosis. So, all the alcoholics out there, more coffee.
Great. So Michael's going to be taking more coffee breaks.
It's also good for Alzheimer's and other neurodegenerative diseases.
You
So,
just refer to Michael as an alcoholic.
Possibly. And he didn't deny it.
I don't. Your lines of conversation sometimes don't justify responses from me.
Good work, Michael.
RTM
Tech says he'll drink to that.
Yay, RTM Tech, thanks. Well, wait, what is he drinking? Hopefully it's coffee.
I think we need an intervention.
Oh, geez.
Phoenix posted a link about Linus building a $30,000 overclocked PC.
$30,000. That sounds like an impressive piece of hardware. I hadn't had a chance to watch that yet there, but I imagine that's impressive.
Must be nice.
Yeah, $30,000. That's like a...
Man,
Better be pretty overclocked.
that open source game. Get into that.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because typically the general, you can get similar performance usually on a Linux computer, oftentimes, than you can on a lower performing machine as to a Windows machine. So there's some efficiencies with the way that they've built that, but that's the antithesis. In other words, you shouldn't need an overclocked machine for those types of usage scenarios. But of course, overclocking does help in all computational situations. I'm a big fan of it, as you all know. My boiling water that's circulating through tubes inside my computer are quite nice and keep my house warm in the winter, as Brantley has pointed out on many occasions.
Even though my air-cooled one keeps my
I know
processor
he cools his beers with his CPU overclocked to 5 gigahertz. It's amazing. I don't know how that works, but he's found a way.
because it's a nicer fan than your water cooling system.
Yes.
You should have gone with the nitron.
But there's no Ryan in here.
Excuse me? What?
Yeah, it's weird.
Well,
The IRC server says that the username Ryan is taken.
Sorry, Michael. I'm keeping up with the chat, not what you have to say.
oh, no. I'm seeing that now. Is there a reason you keep changing your name, Ryan?
Because he can.
Yeah, why can't he?
I'm just okay.
Because he wants to be Ryan at the beginning of the day, and he wants to be just Ryan at the end.
And Ryan underscore.
Am I forced to be Michael all day long?
Yeah.
We could call you by your last name.
No.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Because he's gangster.
He's changing it because he's gangster.
What do you have to? What's the requirement for being quote unquote gangsta?
Phoenix posted another video where Linus almost lost all his data on his main server.
Does he not know how to internet? Yeah.
Does he not have a backup?
Yeah. Here's an interesting article of a creepy channel on YouTube. So they created a user and then 5 days later uploaded their first video, and then have been uploading videos at the rate of about every 10 minutes. But since February 5th, the rate has increased to something like 3 videos each minute.
Whoa. So
They're gonna surpass 200,000 total videos by the end of March.
what is the substance of these videos?
It's like no audio and just weird video.
Okay, because I mean, I
Sounds like
just want
mind
a
control.
spam
And
video
it's a
just for the
strange
sake.
title.
Hmm. Um.
And there's a whole Reddit subforum on what these are all about.
It's a marketing stunt. Crappy marketing
Why
stunt.
is everything marketing to you?
Because they love to waste people's time, have them burn energy, have them, not take care of their children, not do what they need to do to put food on the table, and everything else, and for it's going to be some
Well,
bullshit.
you know what? If it's a marketing stunt for someone that's developed AI, then they are awesome. And I can't wait to see this is just their artificial intelligence.
Well, if that's truly the case and there is some scientific research behind it, I'd be intrigued.
Burn his kinks.
However, um, isn't it just as equally likely that these are just randomly? I mean, I can write a program, as could you or anybody else, to just randomly generate data, and
You can write a program to randomly generate a video.
sure, I know the encoding for a video file, so I can just put the actual video is just like zeros and make it all black or something like that. I mean, random numbers, for the color values for all the pixels. I mean, there's a lot of things you could do to just randomly generate a video.
I don't think you could.
Mm, I mean, there was a case where somebody did it to perform a test. Like they had to, when they did the tests of the SSDs, for instance, they had to constantly write data to it over the course of an indeterminate period of time. So they wrote a program to just constantly write data to it, whether or not it was it wasn't a video in that particular case, but it could have been if that's what they just so randomly chose. And the data is unimportant. It was more about the volume of data written over time in those particular cases. So. Multi-IRC profile syndrome. Um, so, I don't have any more questions about our software.
Here's a parrot getting pissed off at his owner for breaking his cage, like cursing at him and stuff too.
I did not drink any coffee today, Ryan. I don't ever drink coffee.
You don't never?
That's why she's going to die of cirrhosis of the liver.
If I drink coffee, I'll die of a heart attack.
But you'll definitely survive cirrhosis.
So
Well,
it's a
actually.
lose-lose.
Yeah, that does sound like a lose-lose. I'm sorry.
My grandfather died of cirrhosis.
Did you drink coffee?
He
Not
died
enough.
when he was 3, so if he did,
When he was 3?
When I was 3.
Oh, okay, that's a little different. Where's that music coming from?
Michael did drink coffee today.
There's music playing. Wait a second.
Michael, why are you using your computer when you're not supposed to be?
Can somebody confirm that? Is anybody hearing things?
I'm hearing your voice.
So.
I don't hear it on the stream, but I think RTM Tech is right and it's probably from space.
It's the drone outside your window.
Here's a tiny German Shepherd.
I can check on that for you, Ryan. What email address did you want to use?
Ryan, the Ryan we've sold to didn't have a dash underscore at the end of their name, so we can't convey that information to you.
Okay, don't listen to Michael. I will check on it for you.
Oh no, I'm jesting, Ryan. We'll take care of you, no problem. And excitable today. I haven't had a whole lot of coffee. I had 1 cup of coffee. I think you're supposed to increase it to 2, though, so I need to have at least 2 more today to be safe. Ryan's been a long-time customer of ours, it looks like. Thank you so much for your continued business, Brian. Please let us know if we can help you at all in any way.
I thought that video was pretty funny as well, Phoenix.
I can't watch it right now because you would hear it over the stream. But I'm so tempted.
And probably the last one for today since we're winding down. Later, Glenn.
See ya, Glenn.
Lifehacker.
Ryan, I sent you a message.
Lifehacker tells you how to make sure your VPN is honest about its international exit servers.
Because the original implementation was fraught with a lion. It was a compulsive liar.
Why not buy a new license?
The added licenses for DSS, are you speaking of the CryptoPrevent or the D-Maintenance, I think is the other one there? Because those are not implemented and it's
De-uninstaller. No, not
But,
D-Maintenance.
yeah,
De-uninstaller. Jeez.
those are not implemented, and we're going to have a different take form when we update DSS, which will be coming after we get this CryptoPrevent 8 out. So, but you can set up your unlimited copy on your custom app setup. Like, alrighty, well, we have reached our hour.
Oh, Cherie has a question.
Oh, Sri has a question.
CryptoPrevent question. If I want to use a CryptoPrevent to do a test for a client, do I use that license? We can throw you, Shri, additional licenses to accommodate a little bit of testing above and beyond. But since you can generally test out all the features with 3 exceptions, the email notifications, the custom blacklist, and the automatic updates, but the actual operation of the CryptoPrevent free is just like all the other versions with those small 3 exceptions, and that's usually those exceptions don't limit the ability to evaluate it. But if you would like to use your installer to deploy an additional one to do some testing with, we'll be happy to give that to you, Shri. Just let us know.
And Ryan, it would essentially install it, but there's going to be a whole process about it, and we haven't gotten it all worked out exactly yet to be able to describe it.
And he has another question about
Forcing a registry key change would probably be a batch file set up as a custom app would be your best way to go about that.
You can use I think you can use reg files.
Reg files is custom.
Yeah, it should do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, just to create a reg file. Might be the easiest way. I mean, for more specifically than batch file.
I thought Well, I
Oh
mean,
yeah, this was the ones.
use regedit / whatever. You don't have to do the batch file. I mean, you just point it to WinDIR, percent snap,
Hmm.
regedit / that way you can throw the silent switch in if you want or not if you want or whatever.
Yeah, Sri, this is what you were talking about the other time with us. Yeah, absolutely, sure. Go ahead and demo it. Just if you could.
But with that, what she's asking about is if he's going to have problems with it and his accounting software. And that's where the free version, everything it does, all of the protections are all the same. So if you would have any issue with the free version, it would be the same with the premium version.
And just give me a second here. I'm going to pull up their. Their
And Ryan,
installer.
I'll go ahead and make a note of that on the DSS thing to see if we can implement a native way to add registry entries.
So, Shri, it looks like you've got 12 licenses left on the installer that we built you. I'm going to go ahead and add on 2 licenses for additional testing. But again, as Brantley mentioned, the compatibility with CryptoPrevent can be demonstrated with the free version. So there's nothing additional about the blacklist or the email notification that's going to cause any compatibility with the software. The protections themselves are all in place with the free version. But in this way, if you wanted to just use your installer to deploy it, but just remember when you deploy your installer to a new machine, it will deduct 1 license, but like I said, I've added 2 additional ones for you. And that'll have all the you can test that completely if you'd like. Set it up with his mail server to show him that it will work correctly. Could even image his hard drive and take it back and do your own testing with it, and then make some sort of presentation. There's a whole lot of ways to demonstrate that to the customer, but the best way is probably just to do it and see what happens. But just understand that there's always a go back with CryptoPrevent. If it were to interfere with anything, just takes at most the time it takes to reboot the computer to fix the problem. And it's not really a problem, it's just removing an existing software restriction that's been applied.
Yep. And Phoenix points out destroy Windows spying program as a way to add those registry keys for the Windows 10 NAG screen. And probably a lot more about the Windows spying options, I imagine.
And again, Sri, we've done extensive testing with the default level of protection and not found a situation where the default level is going to prevent anything from running. So he'll be able to get at the very minimum the default level of protection, if not a higher level of protection. But our whole goal with the default level of protection in CryptoPrevent was basically to install, and that customer would never have a problem. They would never, in other words, all the default installations of CryptoPrevent, we've never reported a case where it has prevented a legitimate application or caused an inconvenience for a customer. It's a pretty bold statement, but that's the way it is. So we're very confident in its ability to coexist. Remember, and what you should communicate with the customer in this particular case is that it's based upon Microsoft's technology. Okay, it's based upon Windows software restriction policies. It's built into Windows. It's not something that we created. It's not something that we're doing weird or
Well,
anything
part of it is
unusual?
the filtering is done something we've created, and
Yeah. And after reviewing the futures setup, yeah, I am seeing the filtering module being enabled on that, and so that, you're right, that does have a potential. So if you use your installer that we've previously created for you, futures team, you're going to have that enabled. Now that will, we've discussed this before, but that's going to affect click to run, Microsoft click to run applications, and it could potentially, let's say hypothetically, if the accounting software did something similar, this could potentially block that as well. That'd be the first thing you'd want to turn off for reconciling incompatibility. And if the accounting's office very likely uses a relatively modern version of Office, I would imagine if it's Office 365 or it's Office 2013 and beyond, the program filtering is going to cause difficulties. Those have been documented issues for quite some time now, and just keep them in mind though if you do decide to test with your installer. The way it is currently configured with program filtering may create scenarios there. Now that is that is above and beyond the software restriction policies, as Brantley mentioned, and that is something special to what our product does. So yeah, that could cause some issues. We don't normally see that enabled. A lot of our users don't use that for that very reason. However, I do want to point out that version 8, which is forthcoming, will correct those limitations of that. So that won't be an issue moving forward beyond version 8. As far as your question, Sri, having multiple installers, yeah, it would be a good idea. Your installer has the way it's currently configured that I'm reviewing has an interesting mix of protections, but
I would think the only real thing you would want multiple installers would be for
email notifications.
Servers, yeah.
Yeah. So the current setup there, I don't know if that's a mail server that's accessible to everyone. So that would be definitely a reason why you might want to. The fact that you have beta program filtering enabled might be another reason, because there's going to be offices where 365, Office 365 or Office 2013 are deployed. Those are all reasons. You have the highest level of protection that CryptoPrevent can reasonably do, it looks like, from what I'm seeing here. So I'd say maybe you have a default installer and your high installer. Something like that might be a better option to have some flexibility with. Otherwise, you're going to be in a situation where after deployment, you're going to have to manually configure the settings for the client or the customer that you're delivering the product to, because
Possibly.
Possibly. I mean, it all depends upon their setup and configuration, but I see that as something that's likely to happen with the level of protection you currently have enabled. If that makes any sense, right? And I know that might not have been absolutely clear. If you want me to repeat it, let me know.
Oh my.
What's that?
Just Michael finally stopped.
Ryan's asking also, does it stop CryptoWall? Yes. CryptoPrevent.
With the beta program filtering.
Cool, Sherry. Well, we're happy to help. But yeah, if you want to discuss that in any more detail, please just shoot us an email, sales@foolishit.com, and we'll be happy to address all that with you. We'll be happy to assist you with building additional installers. In fact, just send us a new request and we'll fulfill it for you. No questions asked. But in general, as far as I want to make one last statement about before maybe we end, unless anybody has anything else. But as far as CryptoPrevent preventing a particular type of variant, okay, so CryptoPrevent targets the mechanisms by which malware spreads. It's not targeting specific variants. We do have a hash-based file which can detect, and we can put hashes for various specific variants in there, but in general, the software restriction policies cover most, if not all, malware. There's specifics about each one operates, and some might drop something in a temp folder, some might drop something somewhere else, but there are always mechanisms in CryptoPrevent to block these types of things. So discussed previously, like Locky, for example, CryptoPrevent will, if the temp, if local app data slash star is protected, it will protect against the activity that specifically Locky engages in. But this varies for a lot of them. But if you were to turn it all up, it would affect every known piece of malware that we've come across. It's about finding the balance, though, between the highest level of protection and what's tolerable by a particular environment's users and software that they run. Oh yeah, Ryan. Just because it won't prevent the default level, won't prevent any general apps from running it. But again, the default level is not necessarily sufficient to protect against every threat that's out there. So we're not recommending the default level. We're just saying we know that that's safe based upon our experience and our research into the settings that were chosen for that. Be happy to address anything else if there's if you guys have any more questions about CryptoPrevent or other software. And
It's
no
okay.
need to apologize. Yeah, Ryan, that's it's not your fault, or anyone else's.
Michael has an issue with periods when he talks.
Hmm.
He forgets they meant end a sentence.
All right, RTM Tech, it was a pleasure having you join us today. Please come back again, and we'll continue this tomorrow. I think we're probably going to end it, folks. So we've gone over our hour by a good little bit now, and you can join us tomorrow at on Wednesday at 2 p.m. at foolishtechshow.com or foolishit.com/live. For the remainder of the week, we'll have another show at 4 on Thursday and 6 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S. time, on Friday. So everyone join us on those. And Futures crew, if you need anything else in the interim, please just shoot me a line. We'll be happy to take care of you, as I mentioned. And we wish everyone a good internet day, and hope you all have all the success in the world today.
All right. Later, Phoenix. Later, Ryan. Later, later, Textbox. Thanks for joining us and having that question.